$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
Over the last couple of years, we've seen something that we hadn't seen in a long time, and that was relatively high interest rates for CDs. And I say relatively because obviously rates over the last 50 years have been all over the place. But recently, most rates for a long time, as we know, have been low. But more recently, they've relatively been high. So for many retirees or really anyone with money sitting in a checking or savings account, this felt like a gift, right? CDs are safe, they're simple, and it's about as guaranteed as it can get for folks. And we all know that. But now, as interest rates start to fall again, a lot of people are asking, hey, what do I do when my CD matures? Where should that money go next? What do I do with it, right? So first, what we want to understand as advisors is what that CD money is really for. If it is your short-term money, that short-term bucket that we talk about, the money that you need for the next year or two, I just say keep it simple. Stay with safety, stick with safety. A high-yield savings account, you could do short-term treasury bills. It gets a little more complicated. Or just another short-term CD if the rates still make sense, okay? Or a fixed annuity. I've seen some attractive rates on those as well. That's for a different episode. But remember, this is the money that lets you sleep at night. What I say is don't chase yield and take on unnecessary risk with dollars that you will need soon, okay? But if that CD, on the other hand, is part of your long-term plan, if we're not going to use that money, that's money that's just been sitting in cash because the rate finally looked good, now is the time to think strategically. So when rates fall, opportunities rise. Lower interest rates usually mean that bond prices go up. The stock market often finds some breathing room. And some fixed income products, like those annuities that I mentioned, start offering either creative income options or higher fixed rates, okay? So rather than waiting for the next perfect CD rate, this could be the time to reposition that part of the cash. And we could put it into, I'll just give a couple examples here, but tax-efficient investments, maybe, especially if it's in taxable accounts, right? If you have money sitting in those taxable accounts, maybe we're looking at some tax efficiency for you. Or income-oriented portfolios, which just means typically something safe, more conservative, moderate, where dividends or interest provide consistent cash flow, even if we're drawing down principal, okay? Or even if we're not drawing down principal. So if you're nervous about the market risk, that's okay. What I would say is you don't have to go all in. You can layer in the risk, maybe some cash, some bonds, and some growth in one of those brokerage accounts. So one thing that I like to mention here is don't forget taxes. If those CDs were in a bank account earning interest each year, that income was likely taxable. So by diversifying, especially into tax advantage or deferred vehicles or brokerage accounts, you may be able to reduce your annual tax bill without increasing risk, okay? This is one of those, I'll call it subtle shifts that can quietly improve the retirement income over time or just your cash flow, okay? So actually, let me keep going on that. If your CDs are causing tax issues or triggering tax traps, I call it, by putting you above certain thresholds, there are options that are still relatively safe that will not do this, okay? I've run into this several times in the last couple of years, and I think it is because folks in CDs think it's the safest, highest yielding option, which it can be, but what we're not doing is calculating the possible tax consequences, okay? So when rates fall, I'm gonna get back to that, when rates fall, most people panic if they are in CDs or savings accounts. They either, if they're in a CD, they lock in too soon or they sit in cash too long. But smart folks do this instead. They use that moment to rebalance and create flexibility. And it sounds counterintuitive, but the goal is not always to chase the highest rate. It's to design a plan that works in any rate environment. So I'm talking about interest rates, tax rates, withdrawal rates, and more. So We're looking at all of those things when we're looking for how to position this cash. And that's what we help people do every day. If your CDs are maturing soon and you're not sure where to put that money next, now is the time to review your options before the rates and the opportunities slip away. Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini@6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.